crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef here. In today's Ink It Up tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create this card. I will focus on the background of this card, and I'll give you some techniques for also coloring the donkey. But the main idea behind this tutorial, this Ink It Up, is to show you how to use a background stamp and the Stamparatus tool. And then all the other things are sort of icing on the cake. Okay, what is a background stamp? Let me show you first what stamp we'll be using for this background, and then I'll show you some other background stamps. A background stamp is one that takes up the entire back of the card. Okay, this is an A2 card, and it will also work with an A4. So it takes up the entire background, so it's one giant stamp. This is your giant stamp. And you have all the way over here and grab a giant stamping block. This is the biggest stamping block we make, stamping block F. Okay, so that's an option. Or, and then you would have to unmount it and remount it for each background stamp. Or you can use what's called a Stamparatus tool. Okay, before I show you the Stamparatus tool for stamp positioning, I want to show you some other background stamps I have, so you get an idea of other things you can do or other backgrounds. Okay, this is the birch, and I use this for Christmas scenes and Christmas cards. And I like to, when I use the birch, hi Crystal, I use the birch with gold or copper or some kind of brown, and I just put the subtle background in it. Okay, then I have a stacked stone. This is a new one for me, and I've only done one project with this one so far, and I thought this was pretty busy, so I'm trying to think of some ways to make this a little bit more subtle, but I do like the stacked stone. I might have to just start stamping it with a really light color. And then this one, this is another background stamp. It's called Crackle Paint. And I love this because last year I put a lot of butterflies all over. Like this was a tree. I think it's like a tree bark, and I put butterflies all over the tree. And I even did them so, like I masked them so the butterflies look like they landed on the tree. So I've done some stuff with these three as well. But we're not going to use all three right now. We're only going to use the camouflage because there's only so much time in a day. So so I want to show you how to make this card, and then I have a couple projects over here, a couple bookmarks that I made with this same camouflage background. Okay, so let's see. I just want to mention that this is a Darting Donkeys, which I got the donkey from, is not even available yet. It'll be available January 5th as part of our celebration. It's a free stamp set, meaning you'll get this stamp set for free when you spend $50 or more, or actually just $50, not even, or more. Exactly $50, and you'll get this stamp set. Darting Donkeys. We have lots of celebration items. I'll try to get into that more a little bit later. So what you need to do from start to finish, I just want to explain start to finish. First of all, if you were going to use this background stamp on the stamping block and then on the Stamparatus. So if you're just going to take it out of its case, you don't have to mount the sticker. You don't have to put the sticker on the stamp because this little foam would have stuck right to the cling as well. I like to just put the sticker on it so I know which way the pattern goes. Okay, so I could just put it right on the stamping block. But when you do that, and it's not a problem, it's just that it just then takes up your whole stamping block, and then it's kind of hard to apply even pressure. So if you don't get it right the first time, so if you were to stamp this on your white Whisper White and it doesn't come out right the first time, then you have to just keep on trying to press in the middle and you're not really sure. So here comes the Stamparatus, which solves that problem. Okay, so you can use a stamping block, but a Stamparatus tool is a little bit better option for something like this. Okay, I just like you to, I'm going to give you that card to look at so you know what we're doing, and hopefully make some room here. Let me make some room. So with the Stamparatus, it's a stamp positioning tool. You're going to, there's 2 plates on it, so it comes with 2 plates. I'm gonna take off one just to get it out of the way. We don't need 2 plates, but you can imagine how the 2 plates can help you because you can use 2 different colors, and you can do different things. Like you could lower one plate down with the sentiment, and then you could lower one plate down with the image, and then you could take it off, turn it around, and have another option. So you have 2 plates, so you have 4 options. But not only do you have 4 options, you can keep moving it down here in the hinges, and you'd have even more options for positioning. So you can just do so much with it. We'll do more with the Stamparatus later, but I'm just going to put one little plate on there. And what I'm going to do is And then you have magnets which hold the grid paper. So there's a sponge here. You stamp on your sponge. There's more extra. I have extra grid paper down there. I have extra grid paper in my cabinet, I mean. So I'm going to put the sponge down. I put a piece of grid paper down. And then what I do is I put the stamp down. And you're going to put the stamp down the way that it's going to mount onto where you're going to. So if I put it there, then I know to put my paper. Let me get my paper before I do that. Let me get my whisper weight paper, because then it'll make more sense. Okay. Always get a bunch of these. Always have a bunch of these card bases printed out. So you see how the paper's smaller than the stamp. So that's okay. So as long as I know, let's see, if I do something like this, where it's, right, and I put this down, and then I know to put my paper somewhere like here. See how the lines are, the inch lines, and then I know that my stamp's going to cover my whole paper. So that's where I'm going to position my camouflage, just about a 1/4 inch over. Like, so that way I can put my, you'll see when I lift it up. So I'm going to push this down, and it's going to cling, right? It's going to cling onto the top of the Stamparatus. I have a really bright light so you could see me stamp well. So I'm going to cover up that bright light, but it doesn't distract you too much. Okay, I'm going to lift this up, right? I'm going to lift this up, and now I know, right, to put the paper right here. Because I know then when I put this down, it's going to cover my paper. See? So I'm going to put my paper right there. Now, you have a couple options with your paper. You could do a couple things with your paper. I want this paper to be covered from corner to corner. Okay, so I am not going to tape the corner. Normally, if I'm just doing a card sentiment with my Stamparatus, I would then take painter's tape and I would tape the corners. This is what I would normally do. Something like this, right? I would tape the corners so it doesn't move with my sentiment. Because when you put the stamp down onto when you stamp with the Stamparatus, then it tends to make the paper stick to it when it comes back up. So that's why I use tape. So instead, if you do want it to stay and not stick up with you could just put a little bit of adhesive down there, just a little bit, and help it stay down there. So it doesn't stick to the stamp when you lift the stamp up, if you want. But it doesn't really matter for this particular stamp. All right, so, and the paper moves a little bit. I'm not worried about it because it's camouflage. So what you're going to do is ink it up. Now this is a distinctive stamp, and that's a good point to make too. And you also have a magnet that helps you hold, right? There's a magnetic plate, and it'll help you hold your stamp down. But again, I'm not using the magnet right now. I put washi tape on my magnet because one of my magnets broke. It was such a strong magnet. I'm not putting I can put the magnet down on the grid paper, but I'm not worried about putting it down on the paper right now because what happened, I don't need it on the paper. Like I said, I want the stamp to go to the edge. Okay, so distinctive stamping. I'm going to show you it on the case, and I'm going to show you it on the stamp. So you might be wondering, how does this camouflage, how do we get this effect? You know, this must be a lot of work. No, it's not a lot of work because the graphic artist, they did shading in this. Hi, Joanne from Canada. Okay, they did some shading, meaning some parts there's different amounts of like dots to make it look like it's shaded. Okay, so it's called distinctive stamping. So you get 3 shades just by coloring it with the same color, the whole background stamp, and it comes out in 3 shades. We'll do it a couple times so you can see it, but that's not how I got this whole effect. There's something else we have to do after that. But we'll just start with that. We're going to start with this white piece of paper, and we're going to start inking it up. So I'm going to be using 2 colors, but I'm only going to be using, for this part, the Mossy Meadow. And then I'm going to be using Old Olive in a minute for something else, or to add some other color. So let's do Mossy Meadow. You're going to open the stamp pad, go like this, right? And now you're going to add ink all over this. And my Mossy Meadow is not that dark right now, so I really need a re-inker, and I did order a re-inker. I should order re-inkers when I order ink, but I just never do. We'll see how dark it gets. So you see how it's shading in. Some spots holding more ink. It's just due to the concentration in the dots, how much ink it's holding. Okay. So I think it's inked up pretty well. And if not, the beauty of it is if this paper doesn't move, because I did put a little bit of adhesive behind it, then I can keep re-inking it up again. In fact, let me just put a little bit of this Stampin' Seal behind here, only because I don't want my paper to move. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and ink it up. If it does dry because it took so long inking it, you can do what's called the Huff Method, where you're huffing on it to give it a little bit of, moisture. Anyway, now we're going to push it down, and we're going to just push down on our Stamparatus. Hi, Patricia. I'm doing some fun things with Camouflage. Camouflage background stamp. Yes, very good. But it's not inked up all the way, but the beauty of the Stampin' Up! Or the Stamparatus is, and again, I would have more ink on it if I had a little bit more ink on my Mossy Meadow, but I've been using it so much because it goes with this thing called Dragonfly Garden that I've been playing with, and it's a color I've just been using a lot of lately to color my dragonflies. So I think I ordered a re-inker, but if not, I'll have 2 re-inkers for this one. All right, so there we go. Hi, Tammy. I'm going to just ink it up again, see? And because the paper didn't move, I can ink it up again. And you can't do that with a stamping block, because if you were using a stamping block with your background stamp, right, you would never get the ink to go in the same spot. Okay, good enough for what I want. Okay, it's good for what I want. Meaning there's just a little white spot there, but it doesn't matter because remember that card I showed you, we're going to put the donkey, you can put the donkey right over that spot. So that one little spot, but the rest is all good. So now what we're going to do, we're going to achieve this effect, and then we'll do that again. Okay, we want this effect. So what I did is I took, so I didn't want to use Mossy Meadow again. Let me see if I can't get my light to just be a little bit in a different angle for this. It's driving me crazy. Okay. Oh yes, of course I used the scan and cut to cut out the donkey. We'll do another tutorial on that, but because right now I'm teaching the inking up technique. But I will show you how to color the donkey. So I've already done the scan and cut to cut out the donkey. In fact, because Tammy just asked that, I'll show you what that looks like. So that looks like this when the donkey set. So just to know how I got my donkeys, it's like I scanned them in, right? My brother scanned and cut. There's the darting donkeys, and I stamped 6 of them, scanned them in, cut them out. Okay, that's another day. We'll do that another day. Right now I'm just talking about the background. All right, so we have the Mossy Meadow. Well, good. I'm glad. And now I'm going to show and now we're using Old Olive because it goes with Mossy Meadow, and I thought it looked really good for like this camouflage effect. Yeah, this camouflage stamp is so cool. I absolutely love this stamp. And you can do, like, for the girls, you can do pink camouflage and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you could do different things. I just happen to do a lot of things with troops, so I like to use the traditional camouflage, with the military-looking camouflage. Anyway, what I'm doing is I'm rolling my sponge brayer over my Old Olive, and this one should have a lot of ink on it because I did re-ink that one recently. And what I'm going to do is make my background camouflage now. So now I'm adding the other layer of color. Okay, and you just keep doing that. Loads of fun. And you could do it as much as you want, and you don't have to do it to the whole thing if you don't want to. I'm just going to go ahead and do it to the whole thing. Remember, I did put a little bit of snail behind my paper so it didn't, so when it, move. Yeah, and then I get it to, then when you get it to be about that dark, we'll get it that dark. But the nice thing about the Stamparatus is once you have it set up, you can just keep making your backgrounds over and over. Like after this video's over, I'll probably sit and make 10 more or however many is in this stack. See, I have my stack of Whisper White cut out. I would just keep making a bunch of those. So here's what I'm going for. And then I have a bunch of these made, these card backgrounds. And I don't just use them for cards. I'm going to show you what else I use them for. But you can use them for your backgrounds of the mini calendars. That's the last scan and cut project I just showed, the mini calendar. You can use it for a background for that, a box top. Okay, and in this case, I'm also going to show you a bookmark I used it for. So that's how you get that effect. So now we have four colors. We have 3 shades of, hi Vicky. We have 3 shades of we have the Mossy Meadow coming out in 3 shades, and then we're adding the Old Olive. So then it comes like a 4-shaded camouflage thingy. Pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to do one more because I know a lot of you just came on. I never really announce my lives because I never know if I'm going to get a good internet connection. So when I'm here, and thank you for all for joining me without telling you that I was going to be here. I'm just going to pull this one off and do another one. And then I'm going to do some more after this is over, and we're going to have a lot of backgrounds to play with. Of course, it'd be better to use a little bit of like the double-sided tape that doesn't rip your paper. Now, it didn't rip my paper, but it is a little strong on there. Oh, it's okay because I'm putting it on a card. Okay, so we're now going to do one more for good measure, and there's already a mark to show you where you put it. See, and my camouflage stamp is bigger than that area. Okay, and now I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to move this over, and I'm going to do the Mossy Meadow again. Thanks, Yvonne7. I'm turning over the Mossy Meadow. I'm going to open that up again, and I'm just going to re-ink the background stamp. And again, because it's distinctive stamping, some parts are holding more ink than others. And then the farther apart the dots are in this rubber etching, the less ink it's holding, and that's what gives it the shading. Okay, noisy process, but kind of fun. And then we're going to flip it over and push down, applying even pressure with the Stamparatus. Okay, and there we go, and that's good. I like that, but I'm going to go ahead and do it again because it still seems to be staying in place. I think there's still a little bit of adhesive there from before. Now, whatever you do, if you decide like, oh, I want to add some old olive to the Stamparatus, that's fine, but you have to wash. You would have to wash that off first. Don't mix your colors. Like, I'm still only using Mossy Meadow on this one. It might look like I've used a bunch of colors, but I'm still using the same color, just Mossy Meadow. If your Mossy Meadow is probably way darker than mine if you just got it. I've been using the heck out of mine, coloring the dragonflies. Okay, so we're just going to do it one more time, and it's as good as it gets. That's how good it will be. I won't keep using the Mossy Meadow. I'll just sponge color it the rest of the way. I'm trying to get that glare out of the way from my light. I think that's from my overhead light. I can't really help that. So it doesn't give a glare on the actual like matte when I'm coloring, but it only gives a glare on these plastic pieces and stuff. And when I show like a stamp case. So that's that. Ah, perfect. I love it. That's the color I was going for. All right, so now we're going to take, so if you missed that before, I took the old olive, just so you know, I'm using old olive to give it this camouflage look, and I'm going for something like this. There's different versions. I'm going for something where I'm just shading in with old olive. Oh, cool. This would be good. Yeah, scrapbook pages from a war museum. Awesome. See, there's like endless possibilities of what you can do with this camouflage stamp. I just love this. I love background stamps because it's like, what it really is you're making your own designer series paper is what you're doing. You're making your own custom paper. So now I'm just rolling it onto the old olive and rolling it onto the Whisper White. See, good ink absorption. And that would be cool too. You don't even have to do the whole thing. You could do part of it. I mean, if you want, you don't have to do the whole thing. But you can go back and forth. It depends on what you're trying to do. You know, go back and forth and make it darker, or you could just keep going in one direction. If you're trying to give it even color, go in one direction. But if you're trying to make it darker, go back and forth like that. I'm trying to go for the evenness, so that's why I'm trying to go like around like this. So just when you have your Stamparatus, rinse and repeat. Do this over and over and over again. That's the efficiency of making all these cards. All right, so I'm happy with all them. So the next step would be, let me just get that one off of there. There's still a little bit of adhesive back there. Pull that off. Okay, good, good, good. Close that. We're done with that. That's how to use the Stamparatus. Again, if you just got here, this is the Camouflage. I'll show you the case for that because I'm going to pull all these things out of the way. That was Camouflage. It's available now at my store, linked in the description. This is Birch. Available now. It's a good background too. Stack Stone. I just got this one available now. That's the holiday catalog. And this is the annual Crackle Paint. I'm pretty sure it's available now. I've had Crackle Paint for the longest, so I'm pretty sure it's still available. Okay, so those are some really cool background stamps. All right, so now you have these. I'm going to pick the one I like the best. I guess I like this one the best. Doesn't matter, I'm going to use them all. And I'm going to mount that. So this is, the size of this is 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then this would be 4 1/8. So it's an 1/8 inch bigger by 5 3/8. Okay, so you're going to do something like that. So I'm just taking Whisper White and put it on Mossy Meadow. Ooh. She was just saying you could cut out leaves with this. Is that what you're saying? You could die cut leaves? That would be a cool idea. You mean after you make it like this, then you die cut it with leaves? Or, ooh. Hold on, I got my leaf punch right here. Yeah, you could even do, yeah, leaf punch. Here's my leaf punch. That would be cool. I don't want to mess up that one, but you know what I mean? With all the pieces that are left over, I can do my leaf. Or you could, like your die cut leaves, which would be good. Okay, so we're just putting that on there with some seal. This is just seal plus. Boy, it got pretty gunky. This thing's looks like it's been laying and catching all the lint from the room. So I put that on there, and you just kind of have to get over the top of it to get it to be centered right. I just did that for an extra little, I just wanted it to pop a little bit off the when I put this straight on, I'll show you, when I put it straight on the crumb cake. Let me get my bag of card bases here. I need a crumb cake. I always make a lot of card bases at once while I'm watching movies and stuff. All right, so there's a crumb cake card base. But when I put this straight onto the crumb cake card base, look, it was like, right? I'll even do it again with the darker one. It doesn't pop. It doesn't do anything. So when you put it with that little bit of Mossy Meadow, see? It's so much better because it just, now there's contrast. Now you don't have light on light, you have dark on light. Okay, so that's how I did that. I'm not going to mount that. I was just showing you to give you an idea. Okay, so what I want to show you now is how I made this, or just how I did the other parts of the card. So the hee-haw was from hee-haw. Okay, the hee-haw is from the Darting Donkeys, the celebration stamp set that you can get free during our celebration coming up. So we just do that one in, looks like Old Olive. And I just wanted to tell you which dies I use. I use these dies called, they're called, oh boy, Tasteful Labels. This is the Tasteful Labels dies. That's in our, they're available now in our annual catalog. They have some stitching, so I just go like that at an angle. Okay, so just simple stamping. I'm just showing you some simple stamping techniques. A couple little stars. I didn't use anything but 2 colors for the stamping except for the blends. I did use the blends in the donkey. That's another color. But as far as the stamping, I just did Old Olive and Mossy Meadow. Okay, that's it. See, there's the stars. They come out of Darting Donkey. Hee-haw, and the stars are from Darting Donkey. It's Your Birthday. That was from, here's the It's Your Birthday. I put that on a circle. Here's a circle. That's also from the Tasteful Labels dies. So I just went like that. And again, just, I don't remember which color stars. I just used 2 colors. That's it. Mossy Meadow and Old Olive. Put a couple stars on there. And then the Kick Up Your Heels, I thought this Zany Zebra stamp set, which is available now in our catalog, in our annual catalog, I thought the Kick Up Your Heels would be great with this donkey, because the donkey looks like he's kicking up his heels more than the zebra was kicking up his heels. This donkey really is kicking up his heels. So we'll put that with this, again, Tasteful Labels dies. It doesn't matter if you use Old Olive or Mossy Meadow, but I think it's the darker, the better for this, so you can see it real well. So we'll just use the darker one, the Mossy Meadow. Again, Tasteful Labels dies. Okay, and that's how I made the card. That's how I made the card. I put a little piece of, so here's the Crumb Cake card base. Little piece of Old Olive there. Now I'll show you how I made the donkey. I'm sorry, a little piece of Mossy Meadow. And then inside, Hey There Friend. And Hey There Friend comes from, again, from the Darting Donkeys. So everything came from Darting Donkeys, except for the Kick Up Your Heels came from the Zany Zebras. Okay, so that's how the card comes together, like that. Popped up with dimensionals, and now I'll show you how I made the donkey. Well, I took the donkey and I scanned them in. I used the scan and cut out the donkeys. I never fuzzy cut stamped images. No way. Right? If you have a scan and cut, there's so much easy contrasting, there's such contrast there, it's so easy to cut out. So I'm just going to show you what I did. It's very easy. So you know how to make this whole card, and feel free to case it. Okay, so this is, and make your own variation. Maybe a pink, maybe a feminine one, a pink one. All right, so here is the light. I'm making sure. No, this looks like the dark crumb cake. So yeah, dark. I'd use dark around the edges. So I'm using dark crumb cake, and I went like that. So I just kind of loosely go around the edges with the dark. That's how I start out. Using the blends is easy, and you just have to kind of, while they're still wet, because they're alcohol markers. By the way, I did stamp the donkeys in Memento Black ink, because Memento Black ink goes really well with the Stampin Blends. And now I'm using the light crumb cake. So that was dark crumb cake. And then I blend it in circular motion with the light crumb cake, like that. Now it does look different when it dries. I mean, look at how well that's blended, and look how stark that is. The more you do the circular motions, the more it blends, but also when you let it dry, it blends better. So it's going to look a little harsh right now, but it blends. As long as you hit it while it's wet, then it'll blend good. Okay, so that's how I did that. And then I did the legs are a little bit lighter than the hooves. So I went like, I kept the light one out while I was doing that. And I just did the light one, but I left the hooves, you know what I mean. I left them and made them darker. And then I did the ears light, but I just added a little bit of dark to the ears. And I made the tail light, but added a little bit of dark. So I just take the dark. After I went over light, I did his little hair thingy, or his mane, his little hair flip. His mane's a little darker, the line on his ear. Outline his ear a bit, and the hooves. So there's everything is dark. And then a little bit of the tail is dark, so I just went like that down the middle of the tail. This is what's called a color lifter, so if you mess up or you want to make something lighter, or you color outside the lines, it will lift up the color. So there's a little bit I colored outside, so this is a color lifter. All right, so you could also use smoky slate. That would be good to do the hooves with as well. And then for the little snout, I use what's called ivory. It's one of the skin tones. We have ivory and we have bronze skin tones, and I use it a lot to make something look a little different. So I used ivory for the little snout, and then I hit the whole thing up with Wink of Stella. So I'll show you a close-up of what I just colored, because I didn't want to move my camera while I was doing that. I didn't want to move my camera, but I'm showing you a closer up now so you can see. And I could have let the blends dry a little better before I put on my Wink of Stella, but my Wink of Stella is my glitter brush, and glitter makes everything look cuter, I think. Just that little bit of glitter. And then I popped it up with dimensionals. Again, I put a little piece of, let's see, little piece of Mossy Meadow. Well, here's my dimensionals. So put a couple of dimensionals back there. Don't worry that it bleeds through, because you can't see that. So pop that up, little piece of Mossy Meadow. And that is how I made that card. And now I want to show you 2 more things you can make with this technique, or with these camouflage backgrounds. Okay, so I have this retired stamp set, and I send a lot of things to troops, care packages and so forth, and I just love the stamp set. So again, I used to scan and cut. One of the things I did was I stamped this guy in Mossy Meadow, and then I also stamped him in Old Olive. And then sometimes I used what's called the technique of cutting the inside and outside of stamped images to make the little hole in the arm part. Okay, and so anyway, I cut out the little trooper guy, And I made a little bookmark, a little tag for a gift, or just a little tag to put in with a package. And that's that little hole in the arm. You can't really see the little hole in the arm when I put them on top of camouflage. So that's something you could do with this camouflage background. You just make a bookmark. Very simple. You just use a punch. This is the fancy tag topper punch. And you make your own background, but then you punch it out. Or you make it 2-inch wide and you punch it out. Okay, so that's an idea for what to do with this background technique. Thanks. I wish this wasn't retired because I know a lot of people would still love to get something like this, but I'm never giving away this stamp set because I use this all the time. And it also works for police officers, right? It works for any service members of other services, like, here, medical field, you are my hero. I mean, it's a good set. Okay, but that's just something you can do with this technique. And then lastly, you take your same little donkey that I just showed you how to make, and you can make a donkey tag. So this is a little hee-haw donkey tag. I put a little extra tag in there, and kick up your heels, and I made it, some Mossy Meadow from Mossy Meadow twine, and this ribbon's available now, and this one's available now, the Mossy Meadow, but then this one's the stripe one or this braided one will be available soon. So those are ideas for what you do with this background technique. So I hope you enjoyed that. I did a lot of experimentation to get to this point with as far as colors and shading and things. So I hope you like my final result. And I hope you give this a try with whatever color scheme you want to use, whichever background stamp you want to use. Thank you. All right, well, thank you all for watching. And if you want to get a catalog, go ahead and link to, that's what I was going to show you. I did mean to show you this at the end here. So there is something coming up. So Stampin' Up! Demonstrators, we have to order catalogs. So we don't just, we either have to buy them and get them in the mail and get them sent to our house, or we send them directly through bulk mail to our customers. So we have to know by November. It is November. We have to know by the end of November who's getting these catalogs because they get sent out December 8th. And we can only once a year, like one time, it's a one-time thing. I put the addresses in, and once when I purchase it, like, you get them sent December 8th. Not that I can't send them again after that, but you will miss my bulk mailing, which is a more affordable way for me to send you catalogs. So if you want a catalog, my point is, long story short, you want a catalog, click on the link in the description of this video and then go to the contact form. And if you're in the US, we do have this stuff available in other countries, but I'm a US demonstrator. So if you're in the US and you want a catalog, I will send you both of these. They'll probably come separately in the mail, and they'll have my information on the back, my website, but if not, I'll be sending you a follow-up with my website. But that's it. These are going to start January 5th. But you'll have plenty of time to drool over them before this whole event launches. This is a 2-month promotion celebration in which you can get free things like this, darting donkeys, free things. And then we have that's 2 months going on, and then lots of cool stuff in this catalog as well. So thank you, Donna. Thank you for watching. This is the Papered Chef.